Hi, Candy Cane Rodriguez here with another message for you today. Um, Today's topic is going to be kind of a little bit tough, but I was thinking about it. I was actually inspired by a friend. I was talking to her yesterday, and she was talking and saying some things, and I just kind of told her, I would like to tell you that everything is going to be perfect and easy, but it's not. There are times in our lives when things are hard and tough, and we do have to go through it. It's kind of like, in the natural, a lot of us want to be like the CoverGirl commercial, easy, breezy, beautiful. But the fact is, if you talk to the photographers and the makeup artists and all the people involved with that little commercial, they would probably tell you it wasn't that easy and breezy. They would probably tell you they had to work X amount of hours on the girl's hair, X amount of hours on her makeup, and then, the lighting, getting it all set up and it wasn't easy and breezy to get her there with that perfect look for those, 5 minutes of commercial time or whatever it is. And that's true in life. There's a lot of times when our lives might look like, oh, it's the beautiful commercial. But the truth is, there's a lot of work behind the scenes. There's a lot of things that have gone on behind the scenes, and that have made it look easy, but it wasn't. And so that's what I wanted to try and talk to us about, because a lot of Christians today, we have this, and I know I had this. When I was in my 20s, I thought, you know what, I gave my heart to God as a child. I loved God. I was good. I didn't do this. I didn't do that. I didn't go and sleep around like all the other girls that I knew were doing. I wasn't getting pregnant at 15. I wasn't doing drugs. I wasn't going out and drinking and stuff. And I just was kind of like, okay, that means that things should be coming to me. My husband should be coming to me. My kids should be coming to me. Good jobs should be coming to me. Financial security and a house should be coming to me. And it didn't. And I got really upset with God. I was like, what's up, God? All my girlfriends who are doing the wrong things and sleeping around with guys and doing this and doing that, they're getting married and they've got a house, they've got kids, they've got a family, they've got a husband. They got that SUV with the baby seats in the back that I wanted. And so, and I would be like, this isn't fair. This is so unfair. And because I had these expectations that everything was going to be easy, everything was just going to pop out. I didn't understand about God's timing. I didn't have the patience for God's timing. Even though God bless her soul, my mother, I remember so many times in my life, my mother would just sit there and say, now, Candy, you have to learn patience. We would be waiting in a doctor's room, and she would give me a magazine and say, okay, you just sit here quietly, and you read the magazine, and you wait, and you're patient. And I'm like, no, I don't want to be patient, Go ask that nurse. Tell her I'm next. But that was just, my nature. And so God had a lot of lessons on patience for me, and He had a lot of lessons on trusting Him for me. And there are times in our lives when things are going to be unfair. I was witnessing to my girlfriend the other day, and I told her, I said, I got this wonderful job, but I had to, and I was telling her about my experience in Colombia with my first job, and job itself was wonderful. But getting there from where I lived on a mountain, down a mountain with no car, most of the times in the rain, was not a pleasant experience. But I did it for like 9 months, and then God blessed us with a beautiful apartment. He's the owners of the school, and things will seem unfair. Everybody has those unfair moments in their life. If you look at David, let's look at the life of David. David was a good guy. He loved God. He was a good son. He killed Goliath and, was this great warrior for God and was this great witness of God's power. And yet he spent a good deal of his life running and living in caves in fear because the king, his father-in-law, was trying to kill him. And I mean, we don't have kings nowadays, but back then, if a king wanted you dead, you pretty much were going to be dead. The fact is, it just was that way. If the king said, this person's, a dead man, go kill him. He pretty much had the power and the manpower and the armies and the money to make sure that that person was dead. Especially since David wasn't another king and another ruler. He was just this, little shepherd guy. So, he spent a good deal of his time in, the 23rd Psalms. He says, yea, though I walk through the shadow of the valley of death, I will fear no evil. Okay, so if he's talking in that kind of language, he's, not really living it up and hooping it up and, having a good time here. He is going through some hard times. If we look at other people in the Bible, we know that Paul had a hard time. We know that other people had a hard time in the Bible. Even Joshua and Caleb, they were along for the ride, even though they had the faith and they went down and saw and said, yeah, let's go get the promised land. Because of the other 8, they had to sludge through 40 years themselves. And, they could have said, this isn't fair. These jerks didn't believe. I believe. Come on, God, give me some land at least. But they just kept their faith going. And they went through something. And I think that that's something that we all need to learn. I mean, and everybody has times that are unfair. Everybody has times that are unfair. I went through an experience when I lived in Georgia. I got a job. I really liked it. I was working in the cash cage at the PX on base, and I basically was taking care of the money. I would go in at 5 o'clock in the morning because they had this cash checking service that they did for the military guys. And they also had all these little extra businesses besides the PX, which was the big store. And they would come in and they would get their deposits. So I'd put all their deposits together, count them, make sure that they were right. And I would then put them all in one big bank deposit and take them to the bank and everything. And that was my job. And I liked it because I got up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I got off early. It was, not a hard day. I was mostly working by myself. But money started going missing. And I knew I wasn't stealing because I never stole. It never dawned on me. I mean, we've got cameras and stuff. I'm thinking I would have to be an idiot to try and steal. But money started going missing, and I was the last person in. And they obviously suspected me, and they let me go. Now, they did not say that they were firing me for stealing. They said that they were letting me go because I was the last person in, and that they had to reduce their workforce. Therefore, they were letting me go. And there was, of course, nothing on my record because, I wasn't stealing, and two, because I wasn't stealing, they couldn't prove it. But the fact was they suspected me because a lot of the times when things were short, it was things that I was doing. Well, I was devastated. I was absolutely, positively devastated. And it took me a little while to recover, but one day I didn't even go into the PX for like 6 months, and finally I'd gotten another job. I was working in a dress shop, and so I went into the PX with my sister, and the girls in the cash kit go, come back here, we got news for you, and so it was nice. I was talking to them, and they said such and such, who was one of the managers, he got fired, he got caught red-handed stealing, which he was the one that I always suspected was doing it because the money was always missing on the days he would come in the morning with me. And so he would just, I guess, take advantage when I was, doing one thing. He would pull money before I, could count it or whatever. I don't know exactly how he did it, but he was taking money, and he was doing it purpose. I was there every day, but he was there some mornings, and some other mornings he wasn't there. The other manager was there, and he would work the night shift. But so I felt vindicated. But at the same time, I lost my job. I went through several months of going, God, why is this happening to me? This is, devastating. I lost a job I liked. I enjoyed it. But by that time, I had kind of moved on to the dress shop. So I started working in the dress shop, and my manager was stealing. I mean, and she was literally robbing the store blind. She was stealing from our... She was stealing clothes, she was stealing money from the tills, she was stealing money from the deposit, she was stealing money from our little back account that we bought the toilet paper and all the supplies, cleaning supplies and stuff from. I mean, she was, any way that you could steal, the girl was stealing. And I reported her, and they, instead of doing anything about it, they let her know that I reported her, and they did nothing about it and said that, oh, we couldn't find any proof. I mean, even though I gave them, you know, all the proof that they needed, all the records and stuff. Oh, no, we just couldn't find any proof. And I pulled out, and I saw that she had written me a bad report, so I quit. So here I am. I've got my second job. I'm like, okay, God, the first job, I get actually accused of stealing, and I'm, you know, the second job, I'm trying to protect my work, and I report the person that's stealing, and I still lose my job. I don't know, you know, what's going on, and I was devastated. But at that second job, I worked with a girl, and she told me about this credit union, and I had worked for a credit union before. I went to work for that credit union that she told me about. That credit union ended up being a huge blessing for me. It paid for my college, to go back to school to be a teacher. It was a wonderful job. I worked with wonderful people. I had wonderful experiences. And so I had to go through 2 bad jobs and go through some bad experiences, but God turned out and worked all those experiences for good. And so in the end, everything worked out really well because I was where I was. I was in a job that, you know, would put me in the line to start getting my education. And when we came to Columbia, my education and teaching paid off. So, and as a side note, if you really want to know what happened to that manager, the stores actually closed down and folded, the little dress shops, which of course, if you're going to let your manager steal you blind, you're not going to stay in business. But she went to work for a restaurant, and I was in college one day, and we went and we had lunch in this restaurant, and I saw this girl, and I said, oh my God, if I die tonight, because her husband was the chef, and he was the chef at the restaurant, I said, if I die tonight, you have to tell my sister that Gail worked at this restaurant, and she must have poisoned me. And so I joked about it. Never thought about it again. But when I was working at the credit union, SRP Federal Credit Union, one day, I was in the back and I was talking and telling one of the tellers, and she said, my husband works at that restaurant. Didn't you know what happened to Gail? And I'm like, no, I didn't know. She said, oh my God, it was in all the news. She and her husband were caught. They had rock cocaine or other kinds of drugs in their purse and on their bodies when they were arrested. They were arrested for stealing from the restaurant. They were arrested when their house was searched. They had all this stuff that they'd stolen from the restaurant. So it was like, again, I felt vilified and justified. And it was like God telling me, see, Candy, everything works out. You just have to trust me. And that sometimes is why we have these little lessons, these lessons that seem like, oh my God, how am I going to get through this? Teach us to trust God. And that's so important. We have to learn to trust God. We have to learn those lessons. And different people learn them quicker. I mean, my mother was a more accepting person, and when things would happen, she would be like, okay, you know, and she wouldn't get upset, and she wouldn't, you know, have hissy fits like a 5-year-old. I'm going to hold my breath, God, because you're so mean and you didn't do this for me. But I did. And so I had to learn these lessons that God had to show me and build my faith and teach me that, you know, this is how it goes. And so every time we go through trials, we have to have faith in God. We have to have faith that He's going to bring us through that valley of the shadow of death. He's going to take us okay and keep us safe. We have to have faith. I'm going to tell you right now, my apartment at 2 o'clock, they're bringing somebody to look at our apartment because the guy that owns it wants to sell it. And I'm like, I want my apartment, but we don't have the down payment at this point in time. We cannot just, you know, and even if we got the down payment, the loan payment would be more than what we're paying in rent. And rent is about what we can afford at this moment in time. So, you know, but I'm just trusting in God. I'm trusting in God that either the person won't like it or he's just going to buy it and then turn around and rent it back to us. And we're going to stay in this apartment because I love this apartment. This apartment to me is like Eden. It's like paradise. It's like, you know, we have a little garden, we have flowers, we have a river, which is more like a little tiny stream or a creek. But that I'm trusting in God right now, and because I've gone through these other situations where God has shown me, I'm going to get you through it, and everything's going to be okay and better at the end of it. You know, I can have peace. And that is what's important, is that we have peace at the end. But we can choose to have peace all the way through it too. Because when I went through those other experiences, I ended up with peace at the end and thinking, yeah, God, thank you for telling me that Gail ended up in prison. Thank you for telling me that that other guy got caught so my name was cleared and nobody thinks that I was stealing at the PX. But when I actually went through that, I was like, oh my God, poor me. This is so unfair. I mean, it's just not right. How come this is happening to me? I don't deserve this. And it's true. There are times in life when we're going to have situations that we're going to think, I don't deserve this. It's not fair. But the thing is, we can have peace. We can say, you know what, God, I don't understand this. This is hard. This hurts me. There's nothing wrong in saying that. I mean, there's nothing wrong in that. But we have to say, we can say, I have peace because I know that you're in control. I know that in the end, it doesn't, whatever is going on is going to work out for my good. And you're going to work it out for my good. I'm not going to work it out for my good. Okay? I'm not going to be able to prove my innocence. I wasn't able to prove my innocence or that I was right either times in those other two work situations. I wasn't able to do anything but nothing, actually. So, but God took care of it. God cleared my name. God made me feel like I was justified when Gail got caught in prison and put in prison. So that is what's important, is that, and even if I never knew what happened to Gail, even if I never knew that that other guy was stealing, I could have still walked through that and said, I'm at peace, and that whatever's going to happen to me, God, I know that you've got a plan. Because the third job, the SRP Federal Credit Union, I mean, it was so key for my education. It was so key for me ending up and being steered into education. And if I didn't have my education degree, I would not be where I am right now in Columbia. And so everything worked out for good for those that love God. And that's what we always have to cling to. And it doesn't matter what you're going through. I know that there are some people who are going through things that, and they say, oh, well, my situation is a lot harder than just losing a job. Or my situation is a lot harder than being accused of something that I'm innocent of. Maybe it is. You know, maybe I understand there are people that have kids. There are people that are paralyzed. There are people that don't have their health for one reason or another. They're going through cancer. They're going through whatever it is. But whatever you're going through, it doesn't matter, because God is bigger than whatever you're going through. God will see you through. He will work it out for good for those that love him. And the fact is, you may come out of this, if you love God, you're going to come out of this okay no matter what you're going through. But you can go through it and go through it with tension and grief and problems and heartache and emotional problems and relational problems with the people in your lives because of what you're going through. But God will still work it out for good eventually, so that you can look back and say, wow, God pulled me through that. Or you can work through this and say, you know what, I'm going to have peace with this. I know that God is in control. You can start making those decisions right now. God is in control. I can have peace with this situation right now. I don't have to wait till the end game. And so that's my message today, that you can have peace no matter what, that even when life isn't easy breezy, it is beautiful. So God bless you. If you enjoyed this, please like my video. Please subscribe to my channel. Please join my Facebook, and have a great day, and God bless. Bye-bye.